Hey there, everyone. We'll just get started in about a minute. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join in, and then we'll hop right into this. Meanwhile, okay. All right. Meanwhile, if you guys can drop in what you're here to learn, is there anything that you're facing difficulty in? Is there a particular keyword you'd like to go through the process of optimization, writing, whatever that is, right? Feel free to drop in any questions that you have. The chat should be open for everyone. And I see a few new people here, a few new faces. People are joining in. Would love to learn a little bit about you and what you're here to learn. So I can get started right after. If there is a keyword you'd like me to optimize, you could put that in chat as well. Or a website or anything that you want to learn. If not, then we'll go through the regular process of creating content, optimizing it, the whole thing, and then we can go and look at a few strategist features as well. Don't be shy. Come on, guys. Is chat open for everyone? At least say hello. Hello, hello. Okay, I see some questions coming in. Perfect. All right. Okay, so I can see some questions coming in chat. A few people trying to learn how to use AI into their workflow and go about creating content maybe a little faster than they used to. Words to target aren't the words that I actually want to target. Okay, we'll go through that as well. And if you have a keyword, I'm more than happy to go through that particular keyword or that particular example. So we could talk head to head. We'll talk about how to do automatic research as well. Perfect. All right. Sounds good. Let's get started here. I will start with sharing my screen. And let me open up the chat and put it on the side so you can see everything. All right. Okay. So we're talking about the current version of outranking. And we do have a new release coming up in the next on the 19th. So look out for that as well. But this is the current version that we currently have for outranking. Now let's go through creating a new content, right? We'll go through this process of creating a new content, and then we'll walk through strategies as well. Okay, we're using an AI assisted workflow today to create content. Is there any keyword that you might find challenging that other AI writers are not able to write? Or is there something that requires a lot more research? Feel free to drop it in. If not, I will go about pick a topic that most likely is nuanced and it might need a little research and human editing, human touch, and all of that in order to push it to finish line. Perfect. Someone put in pharmaceutical supply chain. Let's grab that. Okay. All right. So I have no idea about pharmaceutical supply chain, but as we create this document, we'll go through what users are looking for, what the intent looks like, and everything is, and try to shape up the article from structure to generating the first draft. This can take about 45 seconds, depending on how much research we have to pull in. Okay. Let it generate audience insight. It's generating some audience insight. Okay. So while it's generating, what should be our primary goal on this screen is to create an SEO optimized title that aligns with the intent that we see from the SERP data. So what I'm taking my benchmark right now on is this top 5 pages, fundamentals of pharmaceutical supply chain. So it looks like an informative content. how the pharma supply chain works. Again, informative. US needs to reimagine its pharma supply chain. That's sort of a thought leader or thought leadership oriented, right? Maybe not very well rounded in terms of the comprehensiveness, but still a new topic. Then follow the pill, understanding US commercial pharmaceutical market and pharmaceutical supply chain initiative. Okay, perfect. We are going to create content that is comprehensive of all of these themes, right? That's what I like to do. If I want to outrank in competition, I want to create more comprehensive content that talks about everything, so a user doesn't have to jump hoops and go through different pages in order to consume that information, right? They can be on one page and consume it all, if it is properly laid out, of course, right? So our goal is to create an SEO optimized title. And these are the 3 title ideas that will generate 3 to 5 ideas. You can pick one that you like and then check the strength of it. So we'll see pharmaceutical supply chain, introduction, industry, and chain of events, pharmaceutical supply chain, a comprehensive guide. I like that. A pharmaceutical supply chain. Okay, a comprehensive guide. And you can see our strength changing and going above and beyond, right? Now let's see what's really happening here. So words to target in title, anywhere from 1 to 5 is great, but my length is going over 60. So while it might be okay, but Google has started like predicting where to cut the title, right? Like, so sometimes they would just cut off this part, sometimes they would cut off this part, right? So it's a gamble. And hence, I don't like playing gamble. How about we remove the, okay? If you'd like you can remove maybe industry out of it. Again, we're targeting this five keywords in my title, but it doesn't have to be all 5 because not all my competitors are using all 5, right? So if I have this out deleted, it will still be a green check because you're doing what most of the people are already doing. So to undo that, we'll keep this like this. We'll close this out and go to our next step, which is outline. Now, outranking uses a very proprietary models to create outlines. So this is not something that you can replicate from ChatGPT, and you will understand that when the outlines are built out. It can talk about product, cons, features, and even find elements of comparisons between product that might be totally nuanced to OpenAI or any type of chatbot, right? What outranking does is looks at the data and it uses custom trained models to come up with this internal and external outlines. So H2s are built out with different models, H3s are built out with different models. So you'll see how comprehensive these outlines are. Okay, this can take a few seconds again, right? Like it might have not been able to get all the data while we were working through the title. So it's still doing its thing, and then it's gonna find all the information and load the outline screen. Okay, it's taking more than usual. Okay, it shouldn't take that long. We'll wait out a few more seconds and see if it doesn't, then we'll just refresh the page. Okay. For some reason, it's taking longer than expected, or is maybe. So, yeah, I'm just gonna do something real quick here. My apologies. I don't know what is happening here. So just give me 1 second. I'm figuring this out here. It can take this long. Okay. 15 more. Okay, there we go. All right. Something might have been stopping it from rendering, and that's why it was taking a little longer than usual. But now we have it. All right. This is not how much time it usually takes. It takes a few seconds, but this is a special case. So anyways, so let me make the screen a little bigger so we can see this a little closer. I hope my screen is big enough for you guys to understand what I'm doing on my screen. If not, just let me know in the chat and I will try and readjust it. Okay, so outline for outranking is one of the most important aspects, not only for generating better quality drafts, but also for scoring your content high. So the main difference between outranking and many of the other SEO editors that you would see is that we try to emphasize optimizing your content around semantic terms in your outline, which can help you gain more traffic. So it can help you increase the aperture for how many keywords you can rank for. So we're doing semantic analysis of keywords, and that's what you're really aiming for here, is to create an outline that scores the strength of the outline needs to be high. It's targeting all the right keywords, and it is structured potentially better than your competitors, and it's more comprehensive than your competitors, right? So what is pharmaceutical supply chain? Maybe a quick question, so you can rank for featured snippet. What are the steps in pharmaceutical supply chain? This sounds to be comprehensive. Okay. Again, I'm not an expert, right? But if I wasn't an expert and I was trying to do this, then I would go through this and understand what some of my competitors have done. How does pharmaceutical supply chain work, right? Like, so maybe that's something that I'd want to answer. So let's minimize this and H2. Let's say, how does the pharmaceutical supply chain work? Okay. This essentially is the same thing, the steps of pharmaceutical supply chain, and this, right? We'll see how they perform. You can add your own, and then you can also generate H3 idea. And again, right, like it gave me pretty much the same line of output. So I know that it's aligning with it. Let's close this out. You can see it's worded differently. So it's totally unique. And it is using NLP data plus the ranking data to come up with this outline. Sometimes they could be similar from the ranking pages, right? So it's like really up to you. You have to make it granular and make some adjustments and simplify it, or personalize it, but they are almost always unique because they are using keywords and NLP data from the ranking pages to sort of put this together. Okay. All right. A quick question that someone that Ed had here. These are the ranking pages from SERPs. Yes, those are the 20 ranking pages from SERPs right here that we can see. And these are their matrices. So there's score, DA, PA, backlinks, and words. And you can expand all the outlines by clicking on this and going through all the outlines one by one to see what you might be missing. 4 ways to build a supply chain resilience, right? Like that could be a good topic that you might want to add, maybe rephrase it a little bit. In that case, you can click on this, it will add it to it. You can modify this, right? You can modify certain internal ones, build upon it, drag, move around things pretty easily, pull it out if you need to, and just kind of personalize the outline the way you would like it to be, and then move it around before you finalize it. So these are not necessarily actual competitors, but SERP competitors. More importantly, in this context, of course, they are SERP competitors. And 90% of the time, your direct competitors will not be your SERP competitors, and your SERP competitors will not be your direct competitors, right? So you have to make sure that you're trying to beat your SERP competitors, right? Not your actual competitors, because your goal for ranking this keyword might not align with your actual competitor. So you are really trying to outscore your SERP competitors. And that's the entire basis of optimizing content around search, right? If you'd start looking at your own competitor and then benchmarking their content, what if they don't have that type of content? What if there is a big parity between them? What if they don't rank on search, right? Then is their content even good, right? Like, you don't know. So you cannot do your actual competitors. You need to do SERP competitors and benchmark your content against theirs. Okay. All right. I'm going to delete. Well, I'm not going to delete anything. We still need to see how the strength is happening for these things, right? But before we go there, quickly, we'll go to questions. We can add some questions from people also ask, rephrase them, right? Like maybe look at some questions from ranking pages and how they are using it and rephrase them to create your own FAQs. Or you can use the one that we've given you or personalize it according to however you want, right? Like, but that's what can happen with this question. Now, let's say you have an outline that goes about talking everything that you'd like. Now, you want to see how it scores, right? Before you proceed further. So let's go ahead and click here. And we'll see words to target in outline. All right. The reason why we only included 2 words for this is because these were used more than once in almost all competitors. But then there was no other parity, right? So there might be other adjacent topics that you might cater to, but there's no commonality. So you can still get by doing this and out optimizing some of the other elements. Number of H tags is 4 to 10, and we have 24. So we're going way above that. So now it's possible that because we have 24 sections, I'm going to delete my FAQ and make it 13. But it's possible that when you have this long of a outline, your first draft is going to be longer as well. So you might want to keep that in mind. In my opinion, longer first drafts are better because I can cut it down. I can remove the things that I don't need and make it more humanize it as I go through it and adjust it. When there are fewer ideas in my content, it's usually difficult for many people to contemplate what to add more, unless you are a subject matter expert, right? Then it's very easy for you to work with any kind of draft. But if you aren't, then bigger drafts work better. These are the search terms that you want to target. Now, what are these search terms, right? Like, these are semantic terms, and this is almost missing from all the products out there. These are the topics that my SERP competitors are ranking for using the same content that I'm trying to outrank them with, right? And they're ranking in good enough position. So we're curating this from the top 10 ranking pages to understand what are those bunch or chunk of keywords that you can rank for with the same content. This is most powerful. The gray here means that they are more important, and that you should definitely target them because they align and they might be very semantically related, right? So pharmaceutical supply chains and pharma supply chain might mean the same thing. Drug chain, again, right? Like totally semantically related. Pharma distribution, that is also a like similar meaning to some of these things, right? So you understand that by using these keywords in your outline, the words in the outline, you can target many of these terms. And many cases, there might be just a couple here. Many cases, there might be hundreds. In that case, you'd also know the depth of the content, right? So value chain of pharma industry, biotech supply chain. So I could pretty much have a question here. Let's see. Is biotech supply chain I'm not a subject matter expert again, right? So don't take my word for this. Supply chain, right? Like, and then we can see that it's going to target those keywords as well. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to go nuts over it. You have to still beat the score and be strength of high, but you can do that, or you can go a little further and ensure that you cover majority of the topics. Now, some would come out and say that, hey, I've used, instead of using pharmaceuticals, I've used pharmaceutical, and it's not picking it up, right? Like, don't get so engrossed in just the scoring of it that you forget the underlying objective, which is to create content for humans and not for robots, right? So you can ignore some small things like that and just move past it. But there's tons and tons of information here that you can include, and you can go above and beyond, or you can do bare minimum and still rank for it. The more time you spend, the more keywords you can rank with one page. So just a heads up over there, outline is a major element in scoring when it comes to content for outranking. Let's close this out. And now the next step. And I'm not going to verify research because we are taking away this feature and having it part of your workflow in the next release. But here, so this is what it would look like for all of you who's getting started and you want to create a first draft. You can leave this checked. If you don't want to create the first draft and you want to write this yourself, right? Like maybe build out granularly or use AI in parts and pieces to build this out, you can do that. If you don't do that and you click on first draft, what will happen is that outranking will automatically search for what information to write about in each of these sections from the top 20 ranking SERP pages and get an idea on how to go approach the topic or how to write about it. So it's factual. It's going to even give you sources that you can verify and go and see more details about. But that all is coming from this 20 pages. What if you wanted your own sources? What if you wanted to include pages which only you know have better information, right? In that case, you can click on add URL for background data, and you can add the URL which you would like us to like us to research from, right? And the way outranking research is not just matching keyword to keyword and finding data from it, right? Like we're doing semantic analysis and we're matching the topic to the core meaning of the sentence and then mapping it. So it can pretty much read any kind of information and do all of these background automation and bring out the right research automatically. But you might have to provide it some more context with some more URLs if you'd like it to read through it. So keep in mind, you can do that. You can also bring 3 to 5 pages of a SERP query. So I can say biotech, maybe distribution industry statistics, right? Like if I'm trying to write some statistical data into my content, I might want to use this, right? And then I can just press add URLs and it will grab, a few URLs for this particular keyword from Google and add it automatically to it. It'll say to take a few seconds, and you can add up to 100 URLs to read from background, but the best possible output can be achieved with additional 50 or so URLs, right? Because it has tons of data to read through and have an understanding of before writing the content. While this is doing that, let me just answer a quick question. Is there any method in this platform to compare a domain to domain of competitor? Actually, not SERPs. If not, no problem. I will be, yes, no. That is competitor analysis, right? Like you are comparing one competitor versus the other. We do compare competitors in Strategist, but for SERP again, like we're trying to find out who is the major player in the areas where you're trying to build domain authority. So it might not be, again, your straight competitor, right? So now it added many URLs at the end that does not have any numbers to it. They are all coming from SERPs, and you can see that there's forecast and stuff like that that's coming out of it, right? So we get the biotech sector thrives, generating nearly 3 million in economic impact, right? Like, so you can see that it brought in some of this detail. Now, you can gear your draft towards using some of this information by adjusting your prompts or doing it later on. What I'm going to do is generate the first draft, and then we will see what we can adjust into it, or which sections we want to rewrite, and then we'll just rewrite that. We're writing about 14 topics. What it's doing right now is building that research in the background for each of the sections, and then starting to build out these sections automatically from there. Some minimize here, get a better screen. And you can see that it's citing some sources where we got this information from and where we wrote it from. And it's totally differently conceptualized, right? Like, so it's like, imagine pulling in information. I was just talking about definition of pharmaceutical supply chain from 10 sources and using that comprehensive information to build out your actual paragraph, right? How comprehensive and how thorough it would be. That's what this is. And sometimes it's possible that the paragraph that it wrote might not make sense. In those cases, right, we can adjust it. So that's what we'll look at as well as we go through this process. All right, so let's go ahead and refresh the score. We see it's at 65 right now. What did you click to get to the content creation? All right, let's go back. We were in outline, and I clicked on generate first draft. Does that make sense? Right here at the bottom, right corner. Okay, let's go back to optimize, and it wrote the entire draft for us. So it's because you are in content brief workflow. So you started with a content brief, and that's why. Now I'll show you how you can switch that. You can click this icon, open up the panel, click on the settings icon, and switch your document type from content brief to AI writing, and it will show that. Okay. All right. Okay. So we are at about 67, and I can tell you that we can beat the score of 77 very easily, because the 67 that we currently have is just from content. We've not even added links, media, and stuff like that. Outranking scores the content not just for content. It is looking at how it is structured, whether you've added the appropriate amount of list, unordered list, images, tables, videos. We analyze SERP ranking pages for all of these details and make sure that your content outranks them in every one of these perspectives. If at least the major on-page SEO factors perspectives, right? And if it does not, then you might be heavily paying attention to your content, which might be better than everybody else, but the experience that comes or is depicted from your content might not be great because you've not used the appropriate amount of images or not structured it into listicles and tables like some of the other pages might have, right? So we are scoring the content for a lot of information besides just NLP. So yes, looking for an easy way, right? Like that would be just scoring NLP, and I can show you that it's pretty much the same in all the topics. But creating true quality content that can rank without backlinks and stuff like that, right? You need to be very thorough in how you publish your content. Okay, we looked at the title. The description is generated automatically, and you can click here to see the description that was generated. And you can edit, delete this, right? Like even that is scored similar to title. Outline we already created and we scored, so we know that these 3 sections are going to be pretty high. The content is not going to be high because it's still not perfect, right? So we can see that somebody has used literally 12,000 words, and we can see who is that guy here. All right, so following the pill, right? Again, right? Like you can discard that. It's not that big of a ranking factor yet, but you might want to pay attention and maybe bring it closer to 25, 3,000 if you'd like, right? You don't need to But if that's something that tickles, that just some people think that their content needs to be more comprehensive in the top 10, right? Like just want to beat the score and beat the word count, feel free, but it's not required. Now, how are we doing on the common entities? Now let's look at this. So these are the three keywords that has been used in the top 5 ranking pages everywhere. There, and the yellow ones are the ones that are overlapping. Some people are using it, some are not using it, but it's been used more than once, right? So we've managed to pull that as well. And you can see that we've talked about out of this 44 NLP terms, we're covering about 30. So it's still 14 topics that we might have not used it, like drug shortage, right? Like I might want to look at how my competition is looking at it. So you can see some competing data and see how people have used it. So you can incorporate that into your content. Okay, marketplace and things like that, we've not included it, right? So we can go ahead and add that in. Okay, all right. And let's minimize this. Okay, all right. So we've covered the common entities. Now, what about unique entities? And what is unique entities, right? This is something very different. Whenever you write content, let's go through our audit and quickly understand what uniqueness means to us. And if I was to turn the uniqueness on, you would see that every page has a certain amount of uniqueness. This one has 17% uniqueness, the fifth one, right? Then there's 12%, there's 8%, again 10. And so your content, yeah, sure, it can be comprehensive and talk about everything that everybody else has. But if it is not a little unique, then you're not bringing anything new to the table. So what it's telling you is that you need about 8 to 12% of unique information in your content. And this is the most difficult part because people don't know. If you're not subject matter expert, then you wouldn't know, where do I get this unique information from, right? You might have to research and it might take a little more time, but that is what will get your content ranking as well. So you need to see amount of unique entities. Like some people have gone crazy and there's so much uniqueness in each of these content pieces that we've seen insert data, and it's asking you to do the same thing. We've included about 32 unique terms in it that we could not find anywhere in any of the ranking pages, which is great. You can try and target a little more. Statistical data, and now this is okay, all right. Let's see. Okay, so some of these pages have encoding, and I definitely see an error here. But what it's trying to tell you is that there are about 72 statistical data in the ranking pages, and you have about 21. So you're using like numbers and things like that in your content to break up the content or make it maybe even more a little interesting. And you have about 32 of those, while some of your competitors have that. These are not heavily scored, but they're scored a little bit. Tables, we did not find any tables in any of the ranking pages, so you have an opportunity. Maybe you might want to add some statistical data at the table over here that makes the content more engaging, and you have scored an additional point, right? Like you're going and doing certain things that majority of your competitors are not doing to ensure that your content is unique, and that counts as uniqueness as well. List, we have a great list, listicle, and again, many of this list is coming from this sources, so once you delete that, it might go down. And then images, 20 to 77, that's crazy. Alt text, videos, if any, typically one. So you can see many of the top 5 ranking pages also have used a video in their content. So you might want to look at that as well. And then there's internal link. There's citations. There are no common citations, but there are approximately 5 to 16 links that people have given it externally. And then this is internal link. If you have your sitemap, you can add that and we can generate suggestions for internal linking. Outranking does not have anything related to pharmaceutical supply chain. So most likely the results are going to be either not that great or it's not going to show any results at all. But you get the point. Yeah, it's not going to show anything, right? And then it's going to be anchor text keywords. You can use this as part of your keyword. These are the most common anchor text used in your ranking pages. So it's very comprehensive. Okay, let's minimize this and kind of quickly understand this audit, right? You might want to look at this if you're trying to visualize. For some reason, my screen is freezing. Okay. Okay. So let's look at this quickly, right? Like you can see how many backlinks your competitors has, and most of them have 0, which is great. If you have a good internal linking structure and your content is good enough, you should be able to beat some of these pages very easily. We don't really look at DA for outranking people, but again, right, like if that's something that you want to benchmark against, but that's not something you can improve overnight. So you don't need to look at DA, but uniqueness and score is super important. Let's remove this backlinks data, and we can see who's scoring the highest, right? Like this page 71 and the first page is 77. So you want to beat that and make sure you incorporate as many elements as you can, get your score higher than 77. That's where you're done. For people who prefer more visual way of optimizing your keywords, you can look at this, right? Like the United States, totally missing from our content. And it's been used in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages out of 10. So it might make sense to, include that United States word somewhere and things like that, right? Like this is a little more visual approach to optimizing your NLP terms than this is. So whichever way you prefer. Once you have completed your optimization and you've added images, right? You can add images, you can add links and stuff like that from right here. You can proceed to the optimization part and publishing part. And publishing is here. There's many different ways you can import, export content and move it along. Now, one thing for when you're working with topics like this, where you might need additional subject matter expertise from other people to bring in, and you're collaborating, or you are in an agency environment, and not everybody has access to this tool, right? What we have is we have a Google Doc, and it will, if you're connected to Google Doc, it will automatically create the Google Doc, and you can see it automatically imported it so people can collaborate on it, and you can do all of these things in your Google Doc. And once you are here, just refresh the page or click here again. And if there is any changes here, like let's say I delete this or someone has collaborated and changed all of that, it can keep track of this, and it can suggest that, hey, the information has been changed. Do you want to proceed? Seems like Google Doc current version might be more current than outranking editors. Do you want to proceed? It will sync that back in. So you're always working off of one document. Whether you are an agency or you're working in a team or in a company, right? This should be very easy to collaborate on Google Doc and bring it back and forth. Once you have the content and the right attributes and everything that you want, you can use these methods to publish your content. Okay, let me see if there's any questions here. Yes, absolutely. And let's look at this, right? So I'm going to copy this. And we'll go to, like, I don't know, the 20th or like very far off, a comprehensive guide to cold chain management. Let's copy this. I will go out, create new document, go to optimize existing, and paste the URL in here. But our keyword was pharmaceutical supply chain, right? Does that make sense? And now I will create a new document. So optimizing existing content. I'm gonna like rework the entire content. That's what we're trying to do here. Okay. Let's remove this few images that we see here. And if you have a WordPress plugin, right, like this easily imports back and forth without any problem. So you might be able to get away with that. Okay, all right. So we have the topic inside our editor, and now we can score it. Let me remove some of this unnecessary things that might not be relevant to our post. Okay, we see 43 score against 77. So all you need to do is go to optimize, and now see what all you can do in order to improve it. So your title is too short, or it's a little longer than it needs to be. You've not included any search terms. Your words in title is typically one, and you've only included one, like you can do a little better. Description, outline, everything is low score, right? So you can go through outline and you can see that you've not used these words. You have targeted maybe enough amount of this, but your search terms, like you've not targeted any search terms at all. Your content lacks, right? You can also see your term map, and you can see that many topics are missing out of this. So this is how you just go by it. Now, if you do audit, and the 20th number, so luckily we just got the 20th number, but the 20th number is your number, okay? So if, doesn't matter if your URL was not in the 20th and it was like a 51st, it will tell you the PA of your page as well. You can see the PA of this page is so less than the PA. It's going to be a little difficult for you to rank when you know the top 20 ranking pages have a PA of 27, which essentially means you don't need backlinks, but you can use some internal linking tactics to improve your to improve your page rank and move up. So that's a quick 2 cents, right? If you like granular audit and you like understanding exactly what things to improve, you can use this audit feature as well, which goes through each and everything one by one and helps you optimize all of these things. So it's totally up to you how you want to do this with the scoring or with the audit, but they essentially both do the same thing. Right. There you go. Internal linking, right? Like it will tell you everything that's missing on this particular page. Okay. Any questions around optimizing writing content? I did not cover the prompt writing part. Outranking covers prompt writing and everything is factual. So we're not a chatting tool, right? Like we're not chat mode. But what we do is you can interact with the prompt utility to generate factual answers. So I can say, write and about a blog I could say title, right? So supply, I'm just going to put something chain and statistics, right? Like, so this is not even properly phrased, right? But you can ask it to talk about some national statistics. When you run this prompt, it's going to naturally look for information from the top 20 ranking pages that we currently have in the background data and 3 more, right? To see if we can find any information related to this and write around that. And it will even show you the background research. So let's go ahead and just press this, enter. And again, right, like my prompt is really poorly designed. It's not something that I would ever do, but we'll see the result that it generates. So there we go. The 10% of overall healthcare spending, $1.5 trillion. And this is all coming from these 2 sources. You can open this up and you can check this, check the details from here. So it's a lot of content that we pulled out from, and there should be the details in here that you can check. So this is how outranking works for factual writing. And if you'd like outranking to use your own research, then you can Control X, you can add your own research in here, and then just generate the draft, regenerate the section again, and it will regenerate it. Okay, there we go. Agreed, right? And that is going to be the case, right? Like, so don't, like, we are filtering those out when we are giving you suggestions for how many topics to have in your, or how many sections to have in your outline. We're trying to filter this as best as possible. But again, it's not possible. Like, look at this, right? Like this is a PDF file. We tried to scrape it, but there was an H1 that returned into an empty heading. So we're not counting this as part of your survey, but we don't want to show you something that's misleading. So, you know, it might feel like it's not complete. So it's showing you everything, and like this doesn't expand into anything, right? Like our members, but it's an H2 tag. When we give you suggestions to optimize your outline, we are filtering out most of this data so you don't have to be optimizing it around wrong information. So as best as possible, right? But it's important to many cases to show, like, we cannot differentiate that this is not important enough for this particular topic. Like, we're not running that analysis, or it's impossible to run that kind of analysis and be at this price, right? Like, the price of analyzing so many pages with so much information for accuracy might just be insane. So it's not something that you can do with 100% accuracy, but we're doing it as best as possible to remove those topics, and even more finely refining it when we are giving you strength suggestions, so that your score is not deviated away from what it should be. Okay, does that make sense? Perfect. Wow, 11 and 45 minutes. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to see here? And some people have been asking me hints about what's coming up in the next release. I'll give a few hints, definitely. But let me make sure that I covered everything that everyone here came to learn first. I'm gonna wait one more minute. Did we answer all your questions? All right, nothing so far. If there is, right, like, drop it in. And in the future. Yes. Paul, you haven't missed anything. People were asking about hints of what's coming in the next update. And I was just gonna drop some bomb here, but I really wanted this to be a surprise, so I want to cut this out of my webinar section, so you will not see this in the webinar. But there is an insane plagiarism checker that will check and fix things using AI automation. There is workflow improvements. There is insane improvements to strategist. There is some improvements to writing. And quite a few other things that I don't want to reveal all the beans. But the next focus is on optimizing your existing website. We really want you to be doing a lot of internal linking. So we have some insane capabilities around internal linking on how you can tactically manage a page and move it up using your internal pages very easily. It's like we have tons of utilities around that as well. And yeah, I mean, we're not that far off, right? Like 19 is about 10 days. We'll start showing some of the features next week. So stay tuned for that. I think it is posted, Brian. And if it is not, then I will talk to marketing and see if we can get it posted, but it should be posted. Let me see if, a second here. Someone, if you are here, if you can find it and forward it to Brian, that would be great. Sounds good. All right, guys. So it's a great session. Any more questions last minute? Drop it in. If not, we're nearing the end of the session, and we'll call it a good day. Sounds good. Sapan, everyone's looking for that. So I think maybe it might be the last one that we did with local. You should have the link. If not, then we'll get it posted later today and posted in the group. Okay. You got it. Sounds good, guys. If you have any more questions, feel free to join our group. If you haven't already, drop a message in there and someone can reply, or we'll reply directly. Reach out to support anytime. And have a great weekend. We still know there's a Friday to go, but for some of you, it might start early. So have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week, and excited to share some updates next week. I'll just leave it on for a couple of seconds so people can copy that link, the YouTube link, before closing out the session. Great. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. And is there a URL for this demo, or will there be? It will be posted on YouTube shortly after it's processed. So maybe end of today, it should be on the YouTube. You got it, Alex. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week with some exciting updates, and talk to you then.